Hey guys, and welcome back. So, look, I promise you that this one will be a little bit different than what we're used to as far as the tone. But I don't want to make this, one that's doom and gloom and void of any possibility. Because, after all, life ain't over, right? We're still here and we still have the ability to create something in this world that we're still living in, right? And we can do it all together. So I wanted to just kind of pose this one question to you, and I'm looking at some stats here. You know, um, why should we even care? Is a question that most people are probably going to ask, right? Because I can't do anything about it. Well, why should I even care? And it brings me back to a story about when I was a kid. I don't know I don't know if anybody knows the story, but I grew up in St. Thomas, which is a small island, the U.S. territory in the Virgin Islands. And when I was a kid, I remember vividly, I lived in the countryside. My family, we were just a regular working class family. We lived up on a dirt road with my grandma. And I remember when I was a kid, for fun, we would end up going down to this beach. And the beach was Cocoa Point Beach. We would go down there. We could walk from the house. But on the way into the road that would lead you to the beach, where they had a beautiful aquarium, all coral reef. I mean, it was just beautiful. It was like going to an amusement park when you're a little kid. There was a supermarket, small little convenience store, let's call it, on the road there. And I remember as a kid going past there and seeing this one fixture, one guy that was always there in front of the store, and his name was Stevie. Okay. And Stevie, I remember was a guy that was always in front of the store. He would always ask somebody for a couple of dollars, and then he would usually, the story with Stevie that I could even remember from being a young boy, was that he would just get a couple of dollars, get something to drink, and then just hang out in front of the bar. That was Stevie's life. And what I remember about the Stevie story is, now in hindsight, I realized that obviously he was homeless, and he had some issues going on that just had him stay out in front of the store on a regular basis. But why I'm sharing this story that is so important, I think, is kind of like a just a reflection on where we have to be mindful of as a society, is because there in the islands, even though Stevie was just one guy, there was really not a ton of homelessness, right? Because everybody tended to kind of like take care of each other, because being that it was such a small place that everybody knew everybody. You either went to school with each other, your families knew each other. It's not a big metropolis. We all know each other, right? But I think when, you look at Stevie's life, and you look at his situation, and him being like one of the only homeless people that I ever saw on the island, it reminded me of the fact that, if one person is out there sitting in the street, that tends to be a reflection of us as a society. Okay? Because when we say we're the greatest country in the world, we say that with some pride, you know? And we've always been in America one of the greatest countries that creates opportunity, but yet our own people here are without the opportunity of housing, which is a bare necessity. Okay, so why should we care? I think we should care because, just as much as people cared when they saw Stevie, they would give him a couple of dollars. Stevie would have, a place to live whenever he wanted one. That was the big thing. But we knew that we couldn't have too many Stevies running around the island because it just didn't feel right. It wouldn't feel like family. Nobody would do that. And I think that's why we ought to care, because if we let the homeless issue continue to grow, and I see some statistics now. I mean, you're talking about homeless in Venice, Hollywood, Skid Row. Those have increased all by 13% in the last 2 years. And, and these are some loose statistics that I'm getting from various sources. So give me some room on whether or not they're 100% to the percent where they where they truly are. But any increase, right, means that we're going in the wrong direction. Not to mention cities like Sacramento, or the capital of California, our own capital of the state. And now they're up, from I think we're up 67%, from 2002. So it just kind of gives, I think, people, just to give you some perspective that, things are not getting better here. They're getting progressively worse. And why we should care is because, these people, even though we don't know them and personally, they are family to our citizens, the people that we call Americans, our contacts. These are the people that depend on us, and look to us for support and guidance together as a group, and they don't have it. So I wonder if we can't do something about that, right? So that's my plea in this, to just say, hey, look, if there's homelessness, we gotta do something about it, right? Other than just saying, oh yeah, that's just what it is. Because at some point, just like my mother did, you're going to have to explain to your kids, for you parents out there, you're going to have to explain to your kids, just like I did, why is that person homeless, mommy? Why is that person homeless, daddy? You're going to have to explain that to them. And I don't know about you, but I never really heard a good answer, right? There's a lot of factors, I mean, you could look at statistics. Some of them are real factors. Like, I had to look this up myself, like domestic violence, which I've seen, family issues, chronic health, substance abuse, mental illness, PTSD, lack of affordable housing in some of the bigger markets. Do those all sound like things that are totally foreign to any person that might be listening to this, or anyone you've met with or experienced in your own personal life, maybe in your own family? No way, right? That was supposed to be a rhetorical question, but no way. Everybody's a lack of affordability in housing. Sure, we've all been, everyone can relate, but geez, it's like some of those things are what's causing someone to not have a home. Mental illness, right? Like we have to be able to figure out a way to bridge this gap. We have to, because at the end of the day, these are someone's family. It might not be your family today, but couldn't it be? Right? Those characteristics aren't that different. So, I wonder if there's something that really we can do about it. And not to mention, this stuff is it's not going away. And if you're practical, because we live in a capitalist society, if you look at the sheer economics, it, on average, and this is by many accounts, it costs, our governments, both state and federal level combined, costs about $40,000 per person per year to assist with the homeless. And that's not a keep it foxy. That's a quotation. It assists with the homelessness. So it costs us as taxpayers, the people that pay, right, to fund it, to help fix this problem, it costs $40,000 a year. I don't know about you. If we get a group of people together and reallocate that money, I feel like we could do a little bit better. I feel like we could. How? We'll get to that. Because I don't think there's just one solution. But I will say this. We got to be able to do better than what we're doing right now, because the numbers are going up. The numbers are going up. And we can't just ignore that. Can we? And that's why that matters. So, I'm going to just kind of, leave you guys with this before we jump into the next segment. And that's really just as simple as, Stevie, right? I talked about Stevie. I talked about him. Now, as life went on, I moved away from the island. Stevie went on and lived a really great life. And he was known as probably the one homeless or two homeless guys in the whole community. And that was his story, right? But what I will tell you is that eventually, as he died, passed away, he was not really surrounded by anyone that knew him personally. The funeral, that I do know personally wasn't super well attended, right? It's just some guy that was in the front of a store and then he died. And I don't and I will tell you that Stevie's death, you know, although it didn't mean so much to the community, so to speak, other than he was someone that was there and he passed away, I can tell you that he had somebody that was a relative of his at some point that made a difference to him. And I really believe that why we have to do something is not so much because of what, that's a personal family member or something like that, is because, when we look at this homelessness challenge that we're facing, we got to know that somebody's family. And if we're going to continue to be the greatest nation on the planet, and take care of our people and be the beacon of freedom and prosperity and all the great things that people fight to come to this country for. Now that we're here, we got to do something about it. So I'm going to leave you with this. It's a quote by Booker T. Washington. And it says, if you want to lift up yourself, we got to lift up someone else. And I believe the best and most effective way to do that is for us to take a hard look at how we can help people find more homes and get steady. So with that being said, on our next segment, we're going to just talk a little bit about how this happens and, get into solutions of what we could do. Because I can't talk about the problem unless we talk about solutions. All right? See you guys in a few.